Oh, yeah. We're back. Three Things with JR. Episode number 48. Damn, that's a good song. I love the intro music. That is the band Big, my band, doing the intro music. That's one of the two new songs we recorded last year that we have yet to release in any kind of official capacity. If you've been listening to this show, you've heard it, or at least parts of it, several different times as we've sort of debuted it here. And hopefully we're going to make a big push to get that music out into the world sometime soon this year. We actually just finished filming and editing a video for one of our songs that should be going live sometime very soon. So you might want to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thebandbig. That's our official YouTube channel, and that video will be going live sometime very soon, if it hasn't already by the time you get this podcast. So last week on the show, I tried something new. I had things written out that I wanted to say, and then it hit me. Wouldn't it be fun to start calling people that I haven't spoken to in a long time off of my friends list on Facebook? And the reason it's the friends list on Facebook is because I got like 878 friends there, and there's a ton of people I haven't talked to in forever, and it's easy to do on my computer and record the call, and everybody has it, and it's not crazy to receive a Facebook Messenger call these days. So I figured there's a chance people will answer. I can record it and put them on the spot and interview them for the podcast, is assuming they are willing to talk to me for any length of time. And I tried someone, didn't work. Tried the second person I tried calling last week, picked up the phone. It was Abdullah Justania, a comedian who used to live in Charlottesville, who is now somewhere else studying to be a doctor. And we just had a great time catching up, and it was a lot of fun. And it seems like people listen to it, and I am really happy to be catching up with people I haven't spoken with and letting you hear what that sounds like. Because, I don't get a chance to go out and see people like we all don't right now too often. And I just wanted to have some fun making this podcast. I mean, I could keep telling you what's on my mind, but I think it's way more interesting and certainly more fun for me to talk to people that I haven't spoken with for a while, find out what's on their mind, what's going on in their lives, things like that. Which means we're going to end up talking about the things going on today, which is pretty much ruled by the pandemic. So we're going to do a lot of that, and I think this is going to be the direction Three Things with JR is taking for the foreseeable future, because it's all I can think about is who am I going to call, who's going to answer, and what are we going to talk about. And I'm excited to be doing that each week. So if you're listening to this and I haven't called you yet, you're on the list somewhere. I don't know. I'm going to just, it's who hits me as like, yeah, I'll try to call that person. Don't take it personally if I don't call you the first 2 weeks, right? I can't call everybody. And there's several people I called this evening that did not answer. Some of them hit me back and said, hey, we can talk later or tomorrow. Some people just didn't have time, and that's okay. That's totally fine. And I'll find you another time. That's great. I was able to get somebody, though, to pick up the phone and talk to me for a good 25, 30 minutes about what's going on in their lives. And this person's name is Tony Larocco. He's the lead singer for a band here in Charlottesville called Pale Blue Dot. As you'll hear in the interview, we get into it a little bit. I was actually a founding member of this band. I consider Tony a friend. Even though he fired me from the band. I was one of the founding members, the first drummer, the first of many drummers in Pale Blue Dot, and I hold that distinction in high regard. There's no bad blood there. His decision to go for a better drummer was probably the right one, although I'm pretty sure I could have done it. It does it sticks in my craw just ever so slightly that I know I could have done it. I had been rehearsing my ass off in preparation for going into the studio with Pale Blue Dot, and then Tony dropped the bomb on me and told me he would rather go with a more trained drummer, because my drumming style, I didn't start drumming until late in life. In my 30s is when I started drumming. I didn't start as a kid. I think I have a built-in sort of natural rhythm. Music is in my head all the time, and I can play the drums pretty good, but I am not classically trained. I'm not really trained at all. I just do what feels right, and it's amazing that I can do anything on the drums consistently because of how little of my life I've actually spent playing the drums. And as much as I love it, I get it. There's way better drummers out there that Tony had to choose from, and that's fine. So water under the bridge, I get it. But I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Tony. Tony had some things he wanted to say. And when I put him on the spot and asked him to do 3 things, to tell me something deep, a deep thought he's been having, to tell me what's inspiring him right now, and to tell me something stupid, he delivered on all 3 things. Way better than anything I could have come up with from my brain today. It's all very much centered around things going on with the band Pale Blue Dot, as well as the pandemic and how that's affecting everything. The band Pale Blue Dot was getting ready to go on tour when the pandemic struck. They had an album to be released in 2020, and obviously COVID changed all of that. And we'll get into the details of that here in this conversation. Just wanted to let you know what's coming up. And Tony's the third thing, when I asked him to tell me something stupid, one of the best something stupids, so one of the best third things we've had on the show. So I'm excited for you to hear that. So we're going to get into my discussion with Tony Larocco, the lead singer, the only founding member left in Pale Blue Dot, here in just a second. We'll get through an ad really quick, and stick with it. It'll be short, and then when you get back, you'll be listening to me and Tony talking about things going on these days. And we're gonna use Pale Blue Dot music in today's episode at the end of the show. So you'll hear one of his songs that he really wanted you to hear at the end of the show. So that's how we'll get out of it. If you want to hear some good music from Pale Blue Dot, that's how we'll finish the show today. So without further ado, a quick break, and we'll be right back with Tony Larocco. Tony Larocco.
Hello?
Tony.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, man, it's JR. How the hell are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. Do you have a minute to talk?
Yeah.
Cool. Are you okay with me recording this and putting it on my podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Sweet. I don't know if you saw last week, I just had this harebrained idea to just start calling people kind of randomly on my friends list on Facebook.
Yeah.
And recording it and trying to put it on the podcast. So it's like a surprise interview. Like, you didn't know you were going to be on a podcast tonight, and now it's happening.
This is true.
Right? That's what I'm shooting for. So I wanted to interview people, but I couldn't get people to like agree to it and call me or anything like that. So I just figured I'm just going to start calling people.
Well, there you go.
And I made a list of the people on my friends list who looked like maybe they'll answer. One, and who would be interesting to talk to, who's got something to say. And I've never known you to not have something to say.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, I mean, let's just chat, dude. How are you? How have you been? I haven't really talked to you in a while.
Yeah, man, I'm doing okay. Trying to get out of, whatever the funk is, that is the COVID blues. And at the same time, kind of dealing with some family stuff. But but yeah, things are looking better and brighter. I feel like every day, so that's pretty good.
I
How
uh
are
I
you?
I'm doing dude, I'm been doing pretty good. I haven't been able to do much of what I used to do, so now I play disc golf and I record a podcast, and that's about it these days.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, it's about sums it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see many other people, but I'm doing stuff.
Yeah,
I can't say it's hurt me that much. It sucks that I can't go out and do comedy and play music and play
right.
softball. I mean, all these things that was consuming every day after work on my weekends. It's just now it's different stuff and it's more alone. That's all for
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for for what I do, obviously, um, I can't tour.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, we've been playing. We've been playing a lot. We're doing two a week and rehearsals, and we've done a couple of live streams and stuff. But we've been double masking since the beginning of the year, and we're just trying to stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
While we do that, and I think as we're making sure we're as a band that we were all signed up on the list to be vaccinated, and um, we're starting to get the engine moving again, which is good because we had big plans for 2020, and obviously that kind of fell short. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah, you had
yeah,
huge plans, right? You were, like you said, about to go on tour. Did you have a new album about to come out as well, or what?
yeah. So we had done like 14 dates pre-COVID, and that was all in the month of January. And then the idea was to take February, March, and April off because we were going to try to get about 70 dates from May to December.
Mm-hmm.
45 of those dates would have been through the summer. So if you really think about it, it would have just been a really busy summer, and then kind of like a, sort of, I don't want to say lazy, but like kind of like, well, we don't have to go every week and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the plan was to release a new record in May. And then COVID hit, and obviously that's kind of like,
Yeah.
it was first let's wait and see, and then it was like, well, it's definitely not coming out in May, and then, should we release it as singles, and then, and it just kind of became this question of like, between our label and between our management and between us is like, what's the right solution? And at the end of the day, nobody knows,
Yeah.
the industry is already in trouble. And then you put an epidemic specifically, that's
Yeah.
given, the way it's given. If this had been Ebola, we probably could still have things,
Right.
but being that it's so easily transmitted through, breathing next to each other and whatever, it's, that's it.
Yeah.
So
You could end up singing the virus onto people.
exactly, which is just gross, and as a germaphobe, it's disgusting. So,
Right.
um, So yeah, so we ended up releasing it in September, and it's doing pretty well for kind of how we released it. Our numbers aren't as big as they were for the last record, but what we've seen is longer track record. Like these people are coming from, like we're sustaining the same numbers week in and week out, which means that our advertising that we did in house was really good, and that when people are discovering us, they're going through the entire catalog, which is also good.
Yeah.
Had people reach out to the band, as like fan mail stuff, and it's been kind of cool. So it's in one way, it's been like, of course I want to go out and tour and do what we do as musicians, which is just perform and get it all out. But then the other side of me is like, we took a gamble and it's kind of paying off, and it we did a live stream for this company called Sessions, which is like a live streaming platform for music. It's a ticketed event kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We made more off of that than we did off of the last hometown show, and we put like 245, 230 in the Southern.
Yeah.
We made more off of a live streaming show than we did a hometown show.
No kidding.
I mean, and we were all like, we're not going to make any money, but like we should do it because it'll, give us a reason to do a full set and, yada, yada, yada. And then, we got the paycheck and we are like, well, we could do more of these. You know what I mean? And we still haven't, because it is a very awkward feeling, of performing your heart and soul and then crickets, to
Yeah.
an empty stage. So it's weird. But, here we are. We're looking at booking already, and we'll see,
So
I don't-
when you do a live streaming show, where are you performing? Is it in your rehearsal space?
So we've done a couple this year, or for last year rather. The first one we did was streaming from the studio that we actually made the record in, which is pretty cool. So the sound that people heard was going through a vintage API console and through, manly compressors, like all the good, sweet, beautiful things that make a studio and not somebody's bedroom or rehearsal space is that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were able to stream with that. So that was pretty rad. But it was also like, it was a Zoom feed, so the compression's crap, And you know me, I care about sound quality probably more than most musicians,
I think you care about sound quality more than most
people.
other things. Like that's a
yeah,
big thing for you.
it is. So it kind of like I kind of felt like, well, it's an uphill battle regardless. So if we can start off, with the API and Manly and et cetera, and singing through a Neumann and, all that sort of stuff, it's going to sound good, but it's still like, Then the next one we did was, we got a bill. It was weird. We were on a bill for some Chicago, because we were supposed to hit Chicago this summer.
Right.
Or last summer. And so I guess that booking agency had reached out to our management or PR or somebody and put us on a bill, and it was funny because like the first band that got up was just the lead singer from You, Me, and Everything You Know, which is pretty well known East Coast band, and he's just playing on his porch, with like his cell phone, and we're like, oh god, and we're at the Jefferson.
Oh, whoa.
We've got lights and we've got a 4K spread, and dude does his bit, and then we come on and we're like, oh, and then apparently all the bands were like, they're cheating. We're like, we're sorry. And we're like, you don't have a red light in your backyard? Because we've got one.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But that was also kind of weird because it was a short set. So it was definitely kind of like get in, get out, which kind of felt like a show, in the sense that like, get up and do your thing and do your tight, it wasn't even a tight 45. I think it was a tight 30.
Okay.
And get out, and then the last one we did was like, we're going to play for an hour and some change, and just us, and it's going to be ticketed, and that's what we're going to do. And that was also from the Jeff. So, yeah.
Man, well, I'm glad you're doing that, dude. We've had sparse band rehearsals. We recorded some songs last year. We just filmed a video, which mostly you can't tell it was filmed in Gary's basement, but sometimes you can. And we're trying to do something, but man, sounds like Pale Blue Dot. Pale Blue Dot is actually. I like this, man. Making the most of it, huh?
I think we're trying to, because it we had so much invested, and at the same time, the crew that we have right now, is the crew that wants to tour. It's the crew that's like, let's do this, and it's funny, man. Like, I don't know, who listens to your podcast or who your audience is, but you used to be in Pale Blue Dot. You're one of the founding members of Pale Blue Dot.
That's right. There would be no Pale Blue Dot without me. I like to think that.
There would be no Pale Blue Dot without you.
But who's in it now?
Who's in it now is Turtles Wadlow,
bass player?
Paul Rosner. Yeah, so bass player is Turtle Rosner. I'm sorry, Turtle Zwadlow. Drums is Paul Rosner, and guitar is Dakota Slager. Both Turtle and Dakota have been with me for I guess about 2 years now. And Paul we just picked up. Darby, who had been with me, is the longest tenured Pale Blue Dot member besides myself. Had a baby, and when COVID hit, I think he was kind of like, I already got one foot out the door, and it's going to be really difficult for me to make it through this,
Yeah.
And we had taken Paul on tour in January, and that was just a kind of a surrogate, we hired him, and Darby kind of jumped back into the saddle and was like, I'll get us through COVID, and then we'll see what happens. And when we started talking about, because we're going in the studio not this Monday but next Monday, we're going to go do some demos, and actually we're going to finish a B-side for a single that we're going to release in April, like a 45. So we're going to do an A side of a tune on Kingdom, which released in September, and then do a B side to that of a tune that didn't make the cut, and maybe start tracking some demo stuff that we have to start making the next record, because we've got stuff ready to go. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so kind of back to what I was saying is, these guys, it's funny, man, because like, I've had 12 or 13 members, I guess, of Pale Blue Dot at this point. And which is kind of funny.
It is, and, it's like a Spinal Tap level of drummers,
it's
right?
It's like Spinal Tap. The funny thing about it, though, the part that makes me like sleep well at night and like doesn't cause me anxiety, is that every single one, with maybe the exception of one person, roots for the band. You know what I mean? They help out where they can.
Yeah.
They do everything they can to try to make sure that that the band doesn't implode or whatever might happen. And I think that means I'm doing things the right way, and that I kind of let everybody do their own thing. And there's certain players out there who may have weird tics or weird, and I let them do that thing, because it's not gonna, just don't bring it into the room, don't, or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that, like, being in a band in 2021 is a lot more difficult than it used to be. And I think it has to do with everything. There's no money in the industry anymore. Right. And so it's like this very difficult thing. And I'm lucky that I'm able to teach, especially through COVID. Having that as a like subsidy for my life has been a blessing a blessing in disguise, because it's, obviously not what I want to do, but being able to do it through COVID has been like, well, A, money, income. Right. But B, it's keeping my chops up, which has always been kind of an interesting thing about teaching. I feel like that it's like it forces you to do the things, the rudimentary things that you don't want to do. Yeah, yeah. And so it's kind of interesting.
Well, I've always heard it said that if you want to learn something, teach it, right? And so if you just want to continue learning, continue teaching, and it can't help but help you, the teacher, as much or more as it's helping the students.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. So my podcast, you mentioned you don't know who's listening. There's not a ton of people listening yet, trying to get more. And one of the ways I'm trying to do it is reaching out to cool people. And hopefully when I put this out on Tuesday, if you see my post, I'll tag you in it. You can share this out maybe. And maybe it'll be a little bit of promotion for you and Pale Blue Dot, a little bit of promotion for 3 Things with JR, my podcast. So now I'm going to really put you on the spot. I don't know if you've probably never listened to it like most people, but all I do on 3 Things with JR mostly is, it's usually me, but now I'm putting people on the spot. The 3 things are, one thing is some sort of deep thought you've had recently. Thing number 2 is tell me what's inspiring you right now. And thing number 3 is just tell me something stupid. And so normally I try to come up with 3 things, one for each of those sort of categories. So I have no doubt you can do this. Ready? Thing number 1.
Yeah.
Thing number 1. Tell me just any kind of deep thought you've had recently. Anything that's just sort of sitting in your brain that you want to get out there.
Yeah. I'm really thankful for science,
Mm.
right? Like how insane it is to me that as a species, we have a disease that's running rampant and is so easily um, caught, or infectious or whatever, and spread across the globe in a matter of weeks. And because of CRISPR technology, which is genome sequencing of things, of cells and whatever,
Yep.
they were able to create this baller ass vaccine that is potentially going to change the world as we know it. I mean, they're already talking about using the same technology to give you a vaccine for the flu, not one species, or excuse me, one variant of
Strain
the
or
flu.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yep.
the flu. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Um,
Are you
so
referring
my
to
deep
the
thought is
mRNA versions of the vaccine?
correct. Correct. So
Yep.
my deep thought, I guess, on this is just like how fucking lucky we are as animals of this planet to be living at this time.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. If I have a choice of which vaccine I'm going to get, it's going to be the Pfizer vaccine, just because I've heard the story of how that came to be. The guy that runs BioNTech, he's as rich as he could possibly want to be, and he doesn't give a shit about being rich. He cares about curing diseases. He pivoted his whole
Yeah.
company from curing cancer to developing this vaccine. And
Yeah.
he's going to make billions of dollars, and he doesn't care. He just wants to eradicate this thing.
Yeah.
And that, if I have a choice, that seems to be, to me, the vaccine that was created with the purest of intentions.
Yeah.
And I love that idea. That being said, I'm going to take whatever vaccine they'll give me.
I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, so this is kind of interesting. One of our ex guitar players, Peter Balog, he was on our last record, Anatomy. He toured with us for a little bit. Still a great friend of mine. He and his wife have 4 degrees and a PhD in molecular biology from UVA.
Wow.
She and he left to go work up in Boston for different pharmacies or pharmaceutical companies. And we had that conversation, like where I'm like, so tell me how CRISPR tech's been here the whole time and they couldn't just be making this sort of stuff for HIV or for whatever. And he was like, people are going to tell you it's the money. It's not. It's not. That it's actually, he's like, because what you just said about the guy from BioNTech, don't get me wrong, like all corporations are greedy, right?
Right.
But he's like, the thing about like Pfizer, for example, we think of this company as like this, like, give me money, give me money. He's like, no. The scientists are all in there doing the same work now that they would be doing with or without a pandemic. You know what I mean? Like they care about solutions to health problems, and it's the board that makes the shots. So they have all the technology. That's why it was so easy. That kind of blew my mind, at least for me, to look at a pharmaceutical company not as like, these pillars of Western capitalism, which essentially that we would think of as just pure evil. Like I do, like they just want money. Like there's no reason they should be causing this much or asking this much money for not vaccines, but for for
drugs.
For drugs like insulin or whatever. Like these aren't, like you're not born choosing whether you have type 1 diabetes. So it's kind of this interesting thing where it's like, again, science and technology, I think, go hand in hand with, like, I don't know, the beauty of what it is to be human and like finding our way through the cosmos. Like we're always going to be trying to be discovering. I don't know. I think it's really, I really think it's incredible.
Yeah, that counts. That is definitely a deep thought, dude. Awesome. The thing number 2.
Thing number 2
is tell me what's inspiring you right now. And normally I try to make this about a band or a song or a show or a book or something like that. So what's inspiring you right now?
What's inspiring me right now? I mean, again, science. I mean, how I write. And, you know, if I write 10 songs, at least 2 of those are going to be about science or about maybe theology or about.
Dude, you have 3 albums. They're named Telescope, Anatomy, and Kingdom, Phylum, Class, Order, Family, Genus, Species. Yeah, I think you got a thing about science.
I do. I have a thing about science. So when we're living in this, you know, in this like absolutely batshit crazy time, you know, it's that it is wrapped around science, you know, in some weird way, whether it's through over farming or whether, you know, factory farms kind of causing stuff like COVID and whatever, like that's certainly a reality, or whether it's getting out of COVID through the great minds that we have. But then on top of all that, we have, you know, we landed a fucking huge ass you know, essentially a drone on
Yes.
on another planet, where we're going to launch another drone off of it to drill cores out of the, you know, out of the planet's you know, crust, and fucking send it back, like, eventually. But it's going to take, like, you know, 6 years or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
That's, again, that's where I can find myself. Right, we have a new tune. We have a new tune. I don't know. I shouldn't. Yeah. Well, we have a new tune called "Secondary Planet," which is another name for like a moon, right? Or
okay.
A satellite.
Yep.
And it's kind of a little bit about like kind of self-escape, like maybe escaping your own bad habits or your own bad reality or whatever, and trying to get somewhere else where you need to be. And then I was thinking of like the idea of like escaping planet Earth, and like, what is that? And that was kind of the idea of Secondary Planet. So that's certainly, like, that's inspiring me right now, for no doubt.
Cool. Good answer, dude. This last one might be the toughest one.
Thing number 3.
Which is, let's get less serious for a second and just tell me something stupid.
Okay. Every morning I live in fear of my youngest son punching me in the balls, and he actually tells me about it. So I live in fear.
This is a real thing? Like, I've seen your post on Facebook about this. This is a real thing?
This is a real thing. Yeah, he said it the other day. Actually, I can't say his whole quote because it was just way too much. But he said, he was leaving the room. He said, "Good night, I love you." You know, I'm with my older son, reading him a book, and my younger one comes in. He says, "Daddy, I love you. I'll see you in the morning." I'm like, "All right." And he's like, "Oh, wait. Tomorrow, I'm going to punch you in the balls." And just like starts to leave. And there's no smile on his face. Like, it's just like this, like, very, you know, very stern, very like, not aggressive, but just like placid, you know. And my oldest goes, he's like, "Man, hey, why are you always trying to punch Dad in the balls?" And he goes, "'Cause I like to." And just like this, I don't need another reason, dude. Like, right. I'm going to punch him in the nuts. You know, and I have to say, like, he's kind of stopped, but like, I still live in fear. You know what I mean? Like, he still says it, which means like he might be playing me and it's gonna come out of nowhere. So it's like Kato and fucking Inspector Clouseau.
Have you let this kid watch Jackass?
No, I have not. Well, I've watched Jackass because my wife would leave me.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, but you can see when you're watching Jackass that all of those guys live in the same fear you are living with, because they really do punch each other in the nuts every chance they get. Right. If they're standing near each other, they're covering their nuts. And it's like, I feel like that's you at home every day, all day. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. So that's my random fact. Dude, that is awesome. I can't thank you enough for answering and being willing to do this. With your permission, I'm going to play a cut or maybe an entire song from your catalog on my show. And if I was to be the one choosing this song, which ultimately I am, but with your permission, I would choose whichever song that was that you gave me a writing credit on, for that little extra thing I added to one song back before you fired me as your drummer.
I don't think we ever recorded that.
No, I didn't get to record with you guys because you fired me the day before we went in the studio, and I was really bummed about that. But you did give me a writing credit on it. Like I have the album with my name on the back as a writing credit on one song, and it was on that first album. And I don't have the album here at my house. I have one.
Oh,
I
man.
have a copy at work.
I don't know. I don't remember. But
I think it was something on Star Counter.
Was it Star Counter?
That's think.
Fair. Okay.
Cool. All right. So if we can't nail down the song that I got a writing credit on, what song would you want me to play a cut from on this? Like it'll probably be it'll probably be like the going out of the show music.
Sure. Blue Light's pretty solid. I think you'd like that. That's a real aggressive rock and roll tune.
Blue Light, the fifth track on your third album, Kingdom, Phylum, Class, Order, Family, Genus, Species.
That would be it, man.
Cool. One last question. I'm sitting here looking at how I'm going to play the song, and I can't help but think of you every time I play a song on Spotify. And I hope it doesn't upset you too much that that's just how I'm going to facilitate the recording of the song being on my podcast.
Totally fine.
Where would you choose? Like if you could have anybody choose, like if you could choose how everybody got your music, assuming I would assume that you want them to buy your vinyl or CD at a show, but assuming that's not possible right now, how digitally, how would you want people to acquire your music?
I mean, at this point, I've kind of given up on the idea that we ever make money from fucking making the music. So, whatever's easier for them. If it's Spotify or Apple, that's cool too. If it's Bandcamp, that's great. Thanks for supporting artists. If it's SoundCloud, maybe Get a Life. I'm not sure. If it's Tidal, I'm interested to see what if it's Tidal, do it that way. But realistically, it's probably either Spotify, that's 30 some odd % of the market share, and then the rest of it's basically Apple. So, do whatever floats your boat at this point. Don't do YouTube. Just don't do YouTube. That's for I don't know what that's for. Don't do YouTube.
Don't do YouTube. Your number one streamed song on Spotify has 127,000 streams, which me and my band, we live in awe of that number. Can you give me some idea of what you've seen from Spotify?
Money-wise?
Yeah.
Not much. I mean, that's not true.
Does that equate to $10 or $100? I mean, what does that mean?
I mean, yeah, about $100, man. I mean, it's not much. I mean, it depends. You get paid more for like random streams than you do from Spotify. So for that album has over 300,000 streams on it. I think I've made about $1,000. So
okay. So I mean, it's not like there's no money there, but I mean, it's nothing like it could be in a different world.
Yeah, I mean, if that translated to actually actual moved units, I think we'd be looking at a much different number. We'd probably be looking at more like a couple million.
It's kind of like when you compare. It's kind of like when you compare rain to snow, right? If you get an inch of rain, if that had been snow, you'd have like 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, and not to push that further, but if you think about the idea of what rain ends up doing anyways, right? It gets just immediately goes to a river or a creek or the ocean or whatever, right?
It washes away. It goes to the lowest place. It takes the fastest path to the lowest place.
Exactly, but snow trickles into our your water table, and that's a really good analogy for the way that we should be looking at this shit. I mean, yes, it's bullshit, but it's been bullshit since the fucking 20s and 30s.
We can't live without it, actually.
Can't right, and so now we're kind of at this point of like, well, how do we move forward? I don't want to say who it is, but there's a band that's playing locally here, and they're about to kind of announce it. I think it'll probably be summer when they play the show. There is a local band, and like they even told me, yeah, we know it's a steep price, $30 tickets. And his response was, when I was like, God damn, he was like, we may want to get used to the idea of actually asking people to pay us. And I was like, you know what, man, that's a really, really valid point.
Yeah.
If you're going to shill out $50 to go see, fucking Kiss at JPJ with crap sound and go sit in the nosebleeds, you should be able to pay a quarter of that and go see a local band that actually would use the money to put in their gas tank and end up, getting on the road. But that's my my 2 cents.
Maybe we flip it on its head. Instead of bands giving out like friends lists to get a guest list to get in for free, maybe the people that want to see you the most because they love you and know you personally, maybe they pay more. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think I'm down with that concept. That'd be great. All right, dude, I have taken enough of your time. I'm sure your son is waiting behind a corner to punch you in the nuts. So I need to let you get back to that. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, man.
I assume it's paleblue.com.
Paleblue.band.com.
Paleblue.band.com. Great. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Later, dude. Peace. Bye. All right, that was my conversation with Tony Larocco. Big thanks to him for answering his phone and really showing up to be interviewed for a podcast he had no idea he was going to be on tonight. And who knows who I'm calling next. So if you're listening to this, be ready. If you see me calling on Messenger, start thinking about your 3 things and just give me some time and let's have a chat. Let's get caught up. I can't wait to talk to each and every single one of you. That's a good 878 episodes of 3 Things with JR. So I've got content to go for a long time. All right. That's it for the show today. I'll see you next week. Here is Blue Light from Pale Blue Dots. Have a wonderful week. I love you all. See you next week.
And don't you know